Hey there! Let's continue our series on Stoicism, talking about the Enchiridion. In this case, this version is How to Be Free, translation of Epictetus' work by Professor A.A. Long. Okay, today we're going to talk about, I find this a very interesting chapter, and it took me a while to wrap my head around what Epictetus is trying to convey here, but I think I got somewhere. So I'm just going to share my thoughts with you. Chapter 6. Don't preen yourself on any distinction that is not your own. If the preening horse should say, "I am beautiful," it would be acceptable. But when you are preening and say, "I have a beautiful horse," admit that you are preening yourself on a good quality that belongs to the horse. What then is your own? The management of impressions. So, whenever you are in harmony with nature in the way you perform this action, that's the time to preen yourself. For then you will have a good thing that is your own to preen yourself on. Okay, what is Epictetus saying here? Well, I'm grabbing something. I'm a fountain pen person. This is a classic pen's LB5. Alright, and every time I'm at a pen show or at a pen meet and I hand people this pen to try out, well, I can honestly say I have never had anyone say, "Oh, that's hideous." People love this pen. I love this pen. But things go a little sour if I think I am cool or nice or exceptional or special, whatever, for owning this pen. Because you see, the property of beauty, the fact that people love the material, love the special nib that's on it, maybe love my ink pairing because this has Mont Blanc Corn Poppy Red in it all the time. That is a superb pairing. All of those qualities don't really belong to me, do they? They belong to the pen. So I'm as B.R.E. Brown, and I always will be, but I'm not special or fancy or better or a great collector or a fantastic reviewer or whatever term you would like to apply to me. Be kind. Because I own this pen. The pen is special. It is special. There's only 50 of these. I mean, it is a special pen. It's a sought-after pen, and this color is particularly interesting. But it is just a pen with just an interesting finish and an interesting nib. You see, one of the important things here, and that's I think the point he is trying to make, is that none of these properties are for me to be happy about. I can appreciate this pen for what it is, of course, and I love this pen. It has special meaning to me, for sure. However, it's the pen that is special. It is the pen that is so beautiful, that writes so spectacularly. And that does not reflect on me. That is all on the pen and not on me. How often do you see people who show off collections or something, or brag about how magnificent or large or whatever their house is, or how great their car is, or how beautiful this they have or that they have, or whatever it is, right? But that's not you. You see, that is not you. If you have the world's largest house, like literally exactly that, the world's largest house. There is not a single house in the entire world that's bigger than that house that you live in. Who cares? Because that is not a reflection of you. It's not a specific trait that makes you such a wonderful friend, or a great husband or wife or boyfriend or girlfriend or lover or child or mother or father or whatever it is. That's not on you. The properties of that house, that it is the largest house in the world, that's all in the house, and it has nothing to do with you. Now, the second thing to realize here is that in the mind of the Stoics, an object is not inherently good or bad. We come back to something that we have discussed before. It's not the object itself that does something, but it is your mind. It is your thoughts about that object. This pen, in my mind, is beautiful. Now, some people may disagree. They may say it's too large, it's too shiny, it's too red, it's too whatever. And all that is fine. That is fine. And you know what the funny thing is? Even though a lot of people love this pen, it's not a beautiful pen. When you think about it, it's just a pen. Beauty, as the saying goes, is in the eye of the beholder, right? These are our attitudes, our opinions, our values. And we have decided, some of us, not all of us, or when you look at the pen community, we have all decided that this is a beautiful pen. And again, some people will disagree with that. That's fine. I'm just using this as an example, right? Of course, your mileage may vary. You'd be wrong. I'm sorry, I'm just kidding. You may or may not like this pen. But again, the most important thing is it's just a pen. It's only beautiful because you consider it beautiful. Something is only ugly because you consider it ugly. A painting by Mondrian or a painting by Van Gogh, both are paintings from Dutch painters, but you may find one beautiful and not the other. But in a way, in the Stoic's mind, that's not a reflection on the paintings. It's a reflection on you. You, in your mind, decide what you find interesting and what you do not find interesting. And that's interesting. I find that very interesting. And this reminds me of specific research in psychology that shows, for example, that people like to ignore negative news or like to focus on positive news. We see something called the positivity bias in older adults. If you show old adults and young adults the same news broadcast and then you ask them about what they have remembered, there is research that shows that older people focus on the positive and kind of forget the negative, and younger people do the exact opposite. They forget the positive and they focus on the negative. Now that's interesting. But now a Stoic would say, there is no spoon. There is actually no positive or negative. There is only what you make of it. Now, if you watch a news broadcast on a horrible war somewhere, I think most of us would agree that that is a bad thing. But a Stoic would say, that depends on how you look at it. Now, I don't really know how you would turn a war into a positive thing, but you can try to turn it into a less negative thing by, as we have said a couple times now, being in charge of your thoughts. Right? Now, I say again, a war is an excessive example. A war is a very big thing. But then let's look at something smaller. This is just a pen. I may consider it beautiful, but it is just a pen. And as we discussed, I'm just grabbing this book again, as we discussed a couple of videos ago, Epictetus said, in the case of everything that attracts you or has its uses or that you are fond of, keep in mind to tell yourself what it is like, starting with the most trivial things. If you are fond of a jug, say, I am fond of a jug. Then, if it is broken, you will not be troubled. That was the third part in this video series. So this pen is just a pen. And there was a time where I thought I would be devastated if I were to lose it. Well, to be fair, I wouldn't be happy. But it is just a pen. I could also lose my life. Which of the two would I consider worse? Right? But again, that depends on how you think about things, right? So, I would say a thing to consider and to remember is it's not the things themselves. It's not the things themselves that are inherently good or bad. Having a good house is not good or bad. And I was talking to a friend not too long ago. I was in his house and he said, this is a really large house. And we bought it and we knew it was a very large house. And there's only two of us. Well, it's a nice house, but it basically takes us an entire weekend to clean this house, the two of us. Yeah, that's the downside. But the house in itself is neither good nor bad. It's just a house, just a bunch of bricks and some, it's your thoughts, huh? Again, it's how you consider that. And in this case, you see that even one object, and this I find very interesting from a psychological perspective, the same object could be considered in even one sentence as a good thing and a bad thing. It's a nice, large, spacious house, but it takes us so long to clean it. Positive and negative. The same concept. Because a concept, a thing in itself is not good or bad. It's just a thing. It's your thoughts about that thing that make it good or bad. And once you start to understand that and you start to feel in control and be in control of those types of assessments, and I think that is what Epictetus meant when he wrote in this chapter, what then is your own? The management of impressions. So whenever you are in harmony with nature in the way you perform this function, that's the time to preen yourself, for then you will have a good thing that is your own to preen yourself on. So once you are in charge, and you understand that an object is just an object and you can make it good or bad depending on how you look at it and how you think about it, and you also realize that the favorable properties of an object, like a pen being beautiful, do not say anything about you. You can have the world's biggest pen collection, but it does not make you a better or a worse person. You're still the same person, you're just a person with a large pen collection, in this case the largest pen collection of the world. But having that pen collection, again, is neither good nor bad, it's just an observation. You have a large pen collection. I find it very interesting to think about things in those terms. It's not necessarily good, and it's not necessarily bad. I can make it one of these two things. Not always easy. But the more you practice it, the easier it gets. And then you start to feel pretty free and liberated. Because now you're just looking at things as things. Not as anything that contributes anything to you as a person. And there you have it. Epictetus, chapter 6. I hope this was useful. I found this one a little hard to explain, so I hope I did an acceptable job. I'll gladly see you later. Bye-bye.